Okay, we're going live here on Facebook. Okay, we're live on Facebook.
All right. Here we are again. Thank you again for having me, Leo.
Yeah, hold on a second. Give me a second here and let me make sure I'm monitoring the chats. All right. We'll wait for a few seconds for people to jump on. Tyler, you can see me okay on Instagram as well?
Everything, it's a little choppy, but we'll work with it. We're good.
I'm good on my end.
Great.
All right, so I'll wait for a few seconds.
Yeah.
So just so you know, yeah, we'll run through it. So, all right, welcome everybody. Welcome to Wisdom Club Live. We are jamming here on our way with Tyler Meinecke, and we decided that we can do a simulcast here on Instagram as well. So, whatever platform you guys are more used to, then go ahead and jump on those. Whatever you're comfortable with. We're not on Instagram Live as much as we would like, but for today we are able to get it all hooked up. So we're simulcasting here both on Facebook and on Instagram. So feel free to comment. If you guys have any questions or any comments, say hello when you come on. Hello, Allison. Welcome. Good to see you. And please let us know if you can hear us okay, if the audio is good and the video is good. If there's any issues, please just let us know. If you're watching live right now, please put in the word live in the comments so I know that you can hear me and you can see me. If you are watching this on a replay, then please comment the word sound. So comment the word sound if you're watching this on a replay. So we're gonna get started here in a minute. A quick announcement. We've been doing this Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock every day and having a new guest here for you every day. And if you guys know, it takes a lot of work to coordinate with people and get people on, and people who have a lot of value and a lot to teach and a lot to share. Their stories are amazing. We had an amazing entrepreneur yesterday. Her name is Julie Lim. She was on yesterday, sharing with her story throughout the 20 plus years of retail business. And I think actually it's more than 20 years of retail business. And she now owns three, it's called OC Wine Mart and Deli.
Wow.
So if you guys could go and check out that video from yesterday. I'm also on YouTube. The post is also has the YouTube link, so you can go check that out if you want. I'm doing my best to support all the local businesses. And that interview was really, really eye-opening about what businesses need right now during the pandemic. I know things are starting to open up a little bit, but there's still a lag because they can only open up to a certain amount, and also they're hurting a lot from the revenue they have not been getting for the last 3 months, and they're struggling to just hanging on and struggling to try to keep their doors open. So if you guys can support him, then all the businesses, local business, whatever it is, please do. So that's a quick announcement on that. And also, I have been shifting all of these live videos more and more toward my private group called the Wisdom Club. And so if you want to search for the Wisdom Club, please join that private group. I'm really just doing my best to give as much value, as much information, and inspirational quotes as I have been for the last 2 years in the group, and like to share and provide more and more value to my fans, my personal friends and family, my colleagues, and all that stuff, and everybody that I'm connected with there. So if you guys would, please go join there. That's where I will be streaming live, at some point, probably in the next couple of weeks or so. I will dedicate all my live streams over there. So that's just want to give you guys a quick announcement on that, so you know where I am, how to find me and stuff like that. So thank you all for joining. Hi, Rachel. So I want to get started here with my guest today. He's my main man, a good friend of mine, and has been very, very supportive throughout my whole process of just doing all kinds of marketing that I've been working on. We've also been working on trying to partner on some things and coming up with ideas and working on stuff. And lately, he's picked up a pretty unique thing that he wanted to share with everybody. But I don't want to go into too much for him. I want him to take just a few minutes to introduce himself and give us his background about where he's from and how he ended up here in California and how his journey has been and where his life has taken him up to this point and what kinds of things, cool things that he's into. I will say one thing. Is that he is a brand new Tesla owner.
Thank
you. I'm super proud of him for getting that car. It's been a dream car for him for a long time, and he's finally able to do it and found a gorgeous, gorgeous car. And I can't wait to see it. I haven't seen it yet, and so I want to congratulate him on that. You guys all own a Tesla. Then chime in and just put the word Tesla so that we know that you got one. We got all the Tesla people. I got to all stick together, right?
Right.
So without further ado, this is Tyler, and I'll let him introduce himself. Go ahead, Tyler.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Leo. I really appreciate the introduction. Thank you for the congrats on Tesla. I did work hard for that, and so I'm very, very glad to finally get my hands on one. So,
hey, Tyler, hold on real quick. On your laptop for the Facebook Live, can you position it so it shows more of you? Because you're
okay.
Yeah. Well, you can just move your laptop so that you're.
Yeah, do a little bit of both here.
Or you can move your phone instead of the laptop. Or.
How's this?
Yeah, yours like your head is like way down in the corner.
Okay, I'm only seeing the Instagram, so.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I see it now. On my end, I look like I'm right in the middle, right? Good. Okay.
That's good right now. Like it
cool.
wasn't. That's good right now. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. So yeah, what can I say? I've been here in California for about exactly 5 years now. I came here with very little, didn't really have, a lot of, in terms of finance, I didn't really have much going on. I didn't even really have a real stable job or anything like that, but I just knew it was all going to work out. And, all I really had was a dream. and I drove out here. I ended up landing a job on the drive out here, actually, on a phone interview. And so that was 5 years ago. Here I am now. A lot of what's happened in between there are pretty much just, really wanting something and trying to visualize your goal. If it's something that you really want in life and you really want it to happen, I think step one is to strongly visualize that goal happening as real as you can and really try to imagine it happening to you. And so a lot of the successes that I've had, especially in the last 5 years, I attribute it to that type of goal setting and that type of envisioning. So, there's a lot in there, I'm sure, but I'll spare all the details and just leave it with that.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'll ask you a couple of details just to give people some context. Okay,
sure.
So you were born and raised in St. Louis, right?
Yeah, Midwest guy. Yeah.
Midwest guy. And so 5 years ago, you basically picked up whatever you had, jumped in a car, and drove almost all the way across the country. That's like 2/3, I guess. And you went straight here to Southern California?
Yeah, I went to LA and I kind of had a hunch that I might land something, but then I did officially land it on the way out. Didn't really have a place to live, but I had really some great friends that let me stay with them, and thank God they did, because it wouldn't have worked out. I was very naive back then. I remember thinking, oh, okay, cost of living, that's just a little bit overrated. I don't think it's that bad. And when I came out here, I just remember being like, well, I'm just not looking hard enough. I'm sure that rent price is just one of the higher ends. And then next thing I know, I'm like, well, that's everywhere. So I quickly realized that this isn't a part-time job kind of location, that I really need to ramp up my game a little bit. So
Yeah, well, it's definitely expensive here, so people aren't really bluffing or anything like that. You can live cheaper if you work on it and try to find it
yeah,
and have a little bit grace from friends and people that can help you out to find a place that maybe they can rent out to you or something like that for sure. But
yeah.
what was like? Paint me a little bit of picture in your head, like, okay, I'm jumping in a car, I'm leaving. It's not that money's not that big a deal. I'll try to find something there. I have some friends there. Maybe I can hook up with and try to see if I can make something happen. You know, find a
Yeah,
stable place to live. I don't know where, but I will. Maybe
sure.
somebody will take me in if needed. You know, that kind of stuff. But like,
Yeah.
like, I mean, you've never like really left the state before. So how did you picture it like when getting here?
It was more than just California dreaming, or however you term that. Um, for me, I just wanted to be where there was some buzz and there was some excitement and more opportunity. And coming where I was from St. Louis, I mean, there is some of that, but um, what I was trying to get into in the industry I worked in at the time, still actually do, and training and development was more. It was tough where I was coming from, so it wasn't quite the best field to break out into. So I knew out here, when I was looking up jobs and all that, I saw plenty of them out here. There's a lot of headquarters out here, so I guess that's one of the things that initially attracted me out here. Aside from the scenery, the landscape. I mean, I've always been an outdoors person, and so the idea, and just to give some of you Californians something to laugh at, but I mean, back home, the idea of having a mountain in your backyard and being able to just jump on a hiking trail and do that whenever you want it's a luxury. And back home where I'm from, that's not really something that a lot of people have. So for me, that was definitely an added bonus, and something that lured me out here even more. So
Yeah, so I've got Julia asking about getting the trade, getting talking about the day trading stuff, and we'll
sure.
definitely get to that.
Yeah.
But I mean, a quick question I just went through my mind was that, so in St. Louis now, I've never been to St. Louis, but in St. Louis, like if you leave your house, like you can't hike somewhere. Like, what's the deal?
I mean, it's yeah, it's different. You would have to go find like a dedicated um, park, like a state park or something like that. There's not just out here. You can, like in Irvine, you don't have to look too far, right? You just start walking, and it leads to a trail somewhere. So there's just no elevation, and I think where you find more elevation, you find more hiking trails. So yeah,
Okay, so not available there. Okay, cool. All right, so let's talk about the day trading.
yeah,
How did you end up starting doing the day trading stuff, and then we'll get into some of the what you've learned and tips and tricks and all that kind of stuff, and what you were able to do and stuff like that. But let's start at
sure,
the beginning. Like, what made you get into it?
yeah. I mean, by no means an expert, by any means, but 3-4 years ago, I started. I've always been intrigued by trading stocks, and I've wanted to learn more about it, and I kind of learned the hard way around that time, just trying my luck out, and putting buying a few shares of a stock or two, and not really understanding what I'm doing. And I mean, I was it was almost as my strategy was almost as simple as, oh, I like the name of that company. It sounds pretty cool. Ocean Power Technology. Whoa, like they're gonna be huge. Like that's how I started. And I just bought a share or two of them, and next thing I know, I check a few weeks later, and it's pennies. So I went from that to actually reading up on this, and I'll recommend a few really good books. But there's tons of different strategies out there. You can use really deep technical analysis and get familiar with day trading patterns and things like that. I won't really go into that today. I'll just sort of talk about how I got back into it recently, not too long ago. Just basically looking at where the market was with the pandemic and the huge the consequences that happen with that, and just realizing that, you know, people call this a terrible thing, the market's dropping, and all the job losses and things that come with it, and that's definitely true. But there's definitely an opportunity in there, and so, and a buying opportunity. And it just actually took a conversation with a friend of mine, and he quoted Warren Buffett, and he said, you know, when people are fearful, you should be greedy. When people are greedy, you should be fearful. And that just really got me thinking. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be greedy, but this is definitely a time to invest. And let me look into that a little bit. So that's kind of what started me recently.
Cool, cool. So all of you guys watching there, if you guys have any questions along the way, just go ahead and type it in the comments, and we'll try to answer them as we go. All right, because I know there's a lot of people that don't know a lot about this stuff, and we have questions. And just go ahead and put it in, and we want this to be engaging for you guys as well. So please do. Now, I think we're just gonna get right into like, hey, what are you doing? I know there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can do with day trading, and let's just not get into the weeds. It's more like practical, like, hey, what are you doing? Now, of course, I'll just say one thing, like, hey, this is not about being greedy, right? This is not about being greedy. This is like, hey, there is stuff happening in the world, and what can I do in the world?
Yeah.
Okay. I have a few dollars. I can put some money in to invest because I think this is a good company, okay, that it will probably do well in this environment, okay? So I can maybe make some money of it and invest my own money. I could have lost it. I could have made money. I could have stayed even, whatever, right?
Right.
But I'm going to do something, right? I'm not just going to sit home and do nothing because there's pandemic outside, right?
Yeah. And one of the biggest, and thanks, Leo, one of the biggest reasons I wanted to do this with you today was to maybe get at least one person to hear something like that and just be like, you know what, this is something I want to try out. Because, you know, right now, like, people they are losing jobs, right? And you know, things are tough right now. We're in a tough situation. I totally get that, and opportunities are a little bit limited right now. But unfortunately, I think trading stocks, and the term day trading has its own negative connotations, but just trading stocks in general has this perception by a lot of people that it's extremely risky, and you have to get lucky, and the only way to make money is to have a ton of money to if you don't have a ton of money invested, you're not going to make much. And a lot of that's just simply not true. And for me, it's the results that have come to me out of this have been, you know, incredible, just unbelievable. Things that have totally, I never thought in a million years I would be this successful at it. And you know, so I'm not sitting here studying 8 hours a day. You know, this is something that everyone could do. The information is accessible and out there for everyone. So I think if you're watching this and you don't think that stock trading is for you, and it's something that that is too risky for you, I would just not really recommend you to get into it, but at least dive in a little bit and look into it a little bit, because you'll probably surprise yourself.
Yeah, you know, I think everybody here jumping on here, I think everybody saw the word crash course. Everybody saw the word day trading. Okay, I know you're interested. All right, I know that, you know, and if you hear something like you don't care about, you think it's not your thing, then you can jump off, right? So, but we're here to give value. We're not just here telling you that, oh, you can make money, you can do this. I want you to just kind of tell everybody, like, hey, this is what I did. I took this much money. I saw this happening. I thought this would be a good investment implement. This is how much I made. All right, just super practical, like no theory or nothing. Like, this is what I was thinking. These are the actions that I took. These are my results. Okay, and then we'll go to the next one. Okay, and just kind of see, like, you know, how you did it, so that we can see some concrete numbers and some concrete things. I think that'd be really beneficial for people, as opposed to, you know, debating some of the, you know, philosophies about day trading or
Patterns.
whatever, right? Like
Right,
who cares? Like you like this stuff? Hey, let's show you what we did. Maybe you can show one like, hey, I thought that was good. I put in this much money and I lost money here, so I stuck with it, or I pulled it out and then I did this instead, but then I made more money than what I lost. You know, that kind of things I think is super, super fascinating and intriguing, and something that you could probably share with people, right?
right. Yeah. One of the first things I think that helped me to feel comfortable and be okay with getting into day trading is just having complete confidence in our economy. Honestly, I wouldn't, if I didn't have that confidence, I wouldn't want to put my own money into it. But I had full confidence that, okay, I see what's going on here. I see the dip in the market. My IRA sees it. My 401k sees it. But I know this is going to come back. I just have that confidence, and history tells us that it does every time. So you can look at all these significant drops in the economy, but can you hear me okay, Lee?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. But time after time, they do always come back. So that's where I was. It was in March, and it was right around the beginning of the drop, and I just remember thinking like, okay, I have some money I've been saving here for a significant purchase, the Tesla, and I just thought to myself, okay, I can let this grow in my savings account like it has been for nothing, less than 1% a year, or I can finally get a little bit risky with it, maybe break the system that I'm in of putting a certain amount aside every week, and just go at this, and sure, be a little risky, but I'm gonna go after it. And so I did a lot of reading. I looked up different companies. Which ones do I like? Which ones do I know stuff about? I didn't just go out on a whim and invest in anyone or anything. I went with the ones that I felt were sure bets, and others that are kind of unknowns, under the radar companies, but turned out to be very, very profitable as well. But yeah, I think that's where it all started, was that confidence, and then from there, yes, you do need some liquid cash, to put into a brokerage account. In my case, this was a Weevil, if anyone's heard of that. And then without getting into the specifics of how to do a trade and all that, I was confident with companies like Delta, for example. I love Delta. It's my favorite company to fly with. And was I confident? Yes. Everyone was basically saying back then, what's going to happen to all these airline companies? They're going to go out of business, and no one's going to fly for the rest of 2020. I can remember news like that. And I just simply looked elsewhere and read other news sources, and dug as deep as I needed to go to find out what other people were saying. And there's different things being said than what you might catch on your main media sources. So a lot of that was extremely helpful. Yeah, in order to make my investment.
Totally agree with all that stuff. People aren't going to tell you the right things. You have to go find out for yourself, right? Yeah. And so tell everybody, like, okay, it's March. Let's just say March 20th. Okay.
Yeah. Something
You're
like
sitting
that.
there like, hey, you know what? I've been playing with the stock stuff for a while. I know the up and downs. I'm confident with the economy and all that stuff. How much money did you decide that you were going to start with to put in for your very first wave of investing? What stocks did you put into? How long were you willing to wait? When were you going to cash out? Can you just give those few details, like first?
Yeah, I mean, I started with 5,000.
5,000, okay.
And so 5,000 for me, that was a totally comfortable amount. And again, I think it's very important. Whatever you put into your day trading, it shouldn't be money that you need next week to pay off a bill, that you need the next month to pay off rent, anything like that. I don't think anyone should trade that way. It's not 100% liquid like that. You can't have your money like that.
Yeah, everybody here is an adult, right?
So just
I hope so. I hope there's no 13-year-olds watching this and saying like, hey, I want to take, my piggy bank, my school funds of $5,000 and go put it in. So no worries about that, man. You know,
So
so right, you know, so you put in whatever you want to put in. Of course, the more you put in, the more leverage you might be able to have. So you know, so Tyler, you started with 5 grand, okay, and
so I got back in the swing of things. I was after a few days, it sort of came back to me, and I'm like, okay, I remember all this. This feels familiar. I was on the other side of the fence way back, but it felt comfortable again. And so you got to be able to turn off the panic button in your head when you're watching your money fluctuate. When you start, oh, it's green, you're happy. Oh, it's red, and one of the things you got to do is you got to set rules, okay? And so when you set these rules in your head, you're not no longer are you freaking out when you see a large dip. If it's still within your rules and you're not you're not down as much as you need to be in order to say I'm pulling it, then you're fine. You all of a sudden you become a lot more comfortable with things. So that's one of the first things that I did. But I went with my favorites. I went with what I felt was comfortable. Like I said, Delta was one of the first companies I got back into. Cruise liners were very popular. I went with, but then when I started to get more and more and starting to profit, I wasn't doing like long holds. I was like, okay, I'm gonna put that large amount. I'm gonna put it into a company, and I'm just gonna day trade it. And, I mean, there were days where you're up 20% with a company, and you do the math, 20% of 5,000. That's the kind of profit that you can bring in, just like that. But then I started to get a little bit under the radar because I'm not looking for news that's out there for everyone and that everyone sees. I'm looking for things that are a little bit more blanketed. And when you do that, you find out about other companies and you find out about other CEOs, and then you start to see you realize the importance of really following the news. Stocks love news. So when news comes out, if it's a merger with a new company, if it's a positive test for a drug, things like that, companies just their stock will jump. And I'm not talking 5-10%. I'm talking 100% sometimes. So if you can be on top of that news and find out what's going on ahead of time, for example, company XYZ is expecting to release results of drug ABC on June 14th, for example, something like that. You buy in at 3-4 days before that. You have faith and confidence in that company. You've looked around, you kind of seen that people are saying, okay, good things are going to come of this. It's a bet, it's a risk, but basically you're betting that, that stock's going to go up when the news does become public. And that's just an example of a strategy that I've used that worked out very well for me for a handful of companies as well.
Sure. So $5,000. Okay. When your first week, you put all $5,000 into several different stocks. Is that kind of how you did it, or you put in 1,000 on several different stocks? Like, how did you what is the buy-in?
I try not to have any more than like 7 or 8 companies invested in at one time. It's just too much to watch. So I mean, that's really a max. I mean, just thinking back, it's probably like 4 or 5. So, you split the 5,000 up between 4 or 5 companies. That's pretty typical. So.
Okay. So you work with a handful. You have $5,000 in it. Some are up, some are down. Hopefully more are up than down, right? I mean, at which point do you feel like you want to sell? Are you looking at 20%, 10%? Making, what is your threshold for sales?
That's a good question. And, there are people out there that are very strict with their rules. I've met them, I've talked to them, and they don't care if the stock looks like it's going to the moon. They'll pull out as soon as it hits, their profit rule. So if it's 15 or 20%, they're out. Even if they know it's going up more, they just love to stick to their rules. For me, I'm not as strict with my own rules as when it comes to profiting. because I've just seen it go past. But I really don't like to pull out of a stock until it gets up to about 20. I really don't like to, but then I'm also reading the patterns. So if I'm looking at the chart patterns and I see it hit a bearish pattern. Now, for everyone out there, bearish, like a bear attacks, it comes down. So when somebody says the market looks bearish, it means it's about to go down. So if I see a pattern that looks bearish and I'm already up, if I'm up 5% or 3% even, for me, I mean, I'm trying to be risk adverse at that point. And when you're dealing, especially with like a penny stock, a stock below like $10, it might take months to get back to that point again. So, with that, I don't typically mess around, and I see a bearish pattern coming and I'm out, I'm up 5%.
Yeah, so that's very cool, like super cool. You're just making judgments as you go. So you're not one of those guys who's like, hey, I'm gonna take my 5% every time and just keep going. And you're just making judgments. You're interested in the companies. You're watching news and stuff like that. You want to know, like, hey, what's happening today, so that I can make a decision based on what's happening with those, instead of trying to make some hard rules that may or may not work out, right?
Yeah.
So, but if those things if those things hit 20%, you're cashing out.
The audio was catching up there a little bit. Sorry, Leah.
Oh, that's
one
all
more
right.
time.
I said so, but if something hits a 20% return on it, you're most likely cashing out, right?
Yeah, and I'm very happy with with my 20%. But I mean, sometimes you see 20% and then that the company has great things going for it. And for example, there's a company called Nikola, NKLA is the ticker, and everyone's calling it the next Tesla, and they do hydrogen powered trucks. And I mean, for a company like that, I knew this stock still has a room to grow, and it's going to go higher. I'm not going to pull 20%. So that one went way higher.
Okay, so you're making those judgments too. I understand, right?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So let's talk more numbers. All right.
Yeah. I've become a numbers guy. So yeah.
$5,000 in March. All right. Have you been tracking your numbers, like how much you profit, and you're paying taxes on them and stuff, right?
Yeah. And definitely recommend keeping a spreadsheet. If you don't keep a spreadsheet, you're just going to get just completely unorganized, and you're not going to know where your money went, and you'll start thinking, oh my gosh, did this platform take my money? You have to track your money, and if you don't, it's a recipe for disaster.
So what are you using to track?
I don't know if I'm able to share, but I actually created a spreadsheet. Just made it really, really simple. Leah, I don't know if I'm able to do it.
You can share if you want.
So like I'll pick like very simple ones. Okay, so I'm going to go to Zoom, right?
Yep, and then just share screen.
And so, this took a little bit of putting together some formulas. Let me know when you can see.
Yeah, it's loading up. There it is. Let me see.
Cool. So these are just like some really simple trades that I make. One thing that I do is follow like a text alert. It's through Telegram, and so I get like these news updates live, like right on the spot. And so kind of like what I like to do with that is just have some fun and trade some penny stocks. So I only put 2 of them on here, but like here's one. Here's a stock ticker. And so I put down what my entry price was, how many shares did I buy, amount of shares. If I set a stop loss, we don't have to get into all that now, but so what's the total position value? Again, I just did a quick little calculation there. And then what was the exit price? So what did I eventually sell it at? If there was any commission by the brokerage. And then that calculates my profit and loss. What's my profit and loss per share? So one of these shares. what would have been the max loss, and then what's the percentage of my gain or loss, in this case 10.34. Where does that leave my balance? This is all messed up now because I moved it over. The platform is Webull. And then to keep myself organized, this always starts out with a no, but once I deposit it into my bank account, it's the yes. And then this automatically, I just keep it safe with taxes. I take 30% out of my profit. So this tells me what do I need to deposit as tax, and then what's my actual total profit here.
Yeah, so let me ask you a couple of things here.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the sheet with calculations that you just put together yourself, right?
Right.
Okay, and then so for all the stocks that you work on, that you put in, that you invest,
Right.
you have a sheet for all of them that's active, and then when they're done, you at least you still have a record of them. So you track everything this way?
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
you have to. Yeah.
All right, super cool. All right, so then so that's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Yep. So now let's talk a little bit more money. Our favorite subject, right?
Right.
So $5,000 in March. Give us an idea what your profit is since then. Maybe that's, maybe that's something that rather than trying to break it down, like what did you make first month? Unless you know, right? What did you make your first month, second month, and we're basically like third month here, right?
Yep. Right. Yeah. I don't want to throw out all the numbers there. I don't know. I'll keep some of that, but yeah, in general.
Just in general.
But so I'll say the where I'm really trying to get next, my big goal is to have a running $25,000 balance in my Webull account, because when you do that, you automatically get to skip day trade restrictions, and that is just the place you want to be. Because if you're under 25,000, then you are limited to 3 day trades in 5 business days. And you can make 3 day trades in 1 hour. So it severely limits you on really how much you can profit. But let's just say I've had really good months. June has not been a great month. The last 3 days in the market, today especially, was brutal. So I'm still holding some positions that are definitely red. But again, I have that confidence in the market, and I think we'll rebound. And right now, I think is a good buying opportunity. So sort of watching and seeing if we continue to dip. But yeah, for me, I don't really wait long. I know I want to get to that 25,000, but I had some things that I wanted to that I was saving up for. So I don't really wait long. After I profit, I send it to my bank, and that definitely helped with obtaining my new purchase, my car.
Yeah, so that's a really good tip, right? If you get $25,000 ongoing trading, then you lift some restrictions. Of course, like you said, like if you made 3 trades in the next couple of hours or whatever,
Right.
Then you have to trade on something and you can't, right? Because if you're under the limit.
Yeah.
Okay.
For example, there's a situation where I've been stuck in it, and I had my 3 my 3 day trades. They were used up, and I just knew one of the positions I had, I was positive, but overnight news came out of the company, and I needed to get out of that company, that stock, and I couldn't unless I wanted to get restricted. And so I've been there. It happens.
Right. So for everybody watching, right? If you put in $5,000 to start, that's totally fine. You want to learn how this stuff works and get it set up and all that stuff. But ultimately, if you get $25,000 in, to work with as your running tab, right? Then you're not restricted. You have more flexibility. When you're losing money, you can make the trade.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I don't want you to give details or anything like that. But I just want to understand, like, hey, you put in $5,000 to begin with. Did you keep putting more money into it?
I haven't I think aside from maybe a few $100, I mean, I haven't had to deposit any more than that 5 grand. Yeah.
Okay, so then from that 5 grand, I mean, just give us an idea over the 3 months, like how much did you make?
So,
You
I
double your
I
money,
could look at my
money.
spreadsheet here.
Yeah.
um, so we're talking about some pretty good gains here. So 107.08% on a company called Mark. So that was a really good one. 62% on that Nicola company. Norwegian Cruise Lines gave me 16.86%. DraftKings was a great stock for, it's going down right now, but it was a great stock if you owned it in the 20s, especially. But that I earned over 15% on that. My first time that I swung traded again and earned 13.5%. The Mark company again, that's been my best company. If you know anything about stock trading, if anyone there is watching and you've been trading, you've heard of the company called Genius Brands International. This company is based out of Beverly Hills. They're just going crazy. Right now they're taking a beating, but they're all over the place. Big names like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Bob Ross. They're gonna they're gonna be on the company basically, and they're gonna offer like cartoon education channel for kids. And Amazon's name is thrown in there. That company did me extremely well. I bought in at 65 cents. It hit $11 at one point. I didn't get it that high, but I did get it in the 6 range. So, so that was great. 47% on a company called Expa. So sorry, I could go on, but I'll stop.
No. I mean, that stuff is totally awesome. Like, I love it. I love it. Okay, but I think for us who are not invested in those individual stocks, we don't really know what those percentage really mean, right? And so I want to give people a lot of value as far as like what can be possible, right? So you put in your $5,000, like what have you profited? Like, did you grow that to 10,000? Did you grow that to 15? Like, just give us like really round numbers. Like, we're not trying to pick things up, apart here. We just want to give some people an idea, like what's possible, right?
Yeah. Again, like spreading out my positions from 4, 5, 6 companies at a time. And always having the 5, trying to basically invest as much as I can at any given moment. So you take some of those percentages I just named, and you take 47%, for example, of 1,000. You're looking at $470 of not pure profit because there's taxes in that, but $470 in the span of maybe 2 days, because I don't really hold stocks longer than 2 to 3 days with the strategy that I've been doing. So I would say on average, anywhere from on a day has been anywhere from like 150, 175 a day. And that's with a full-time job. So that's only trading from like 5 in the morning to about 8.
So you're maybe making $150 to $175 a day with the positions that you have. Is that what we're talking about?
It's got to be somewhere close to that. I mean, when you factor in June, these last like 3,
Yeah,
4
yeah, no, totally cool. Like, things fluctuate. I understand that. That's why I'm talking about the last 3 months, what you kind of gained from, right? Those
Yeah.
numbers we should already know, right? Not the stuff that we don't know coming up yet, right? So, but what do you think? Like, you put in $5,000, over time. Like, if you're making 175 a day, I multiply that by 90. What are we talking about
Yeah. I had this math figured out at one point. Yeah. You do, let's just call it 200
here?
to make it easy. 200 times 5 is 1,000 in a week you're looking at, without taxes taken out. So, I mean, this can easily be better than any part-time job you can go get.
So the numbers I'm coming out with $200 by
Yeah.
5 a week, because you're only trading Monday through Friday.
Right.
Right? Okay. So that's 12 weeks in 3 months. Right?
Yeah.
So we're looking at $12,000. Right? Take that $12,000. Let's say you're paying roughly 20, 25% on your tax. right? So then we're looking at somewhere around 9 grand.
Yeah.
So that accumulates like over time.
Yeah.
And then so then how much time are you roughly you think like you're spending, working the day trades and stuff?
Well, you should, as you make more money, you should also be, uh, you should take money out of your profit and put it back into your reinvestment account. And so, I mean, for me, knowing that I had a big purchase coming up, it kind of prevented me to reinvest into my brokerage account. But the goal is to grow that balance. And so instead of trading with $1,000 in a company, you start to trade with like 10,000, 12,000, and higher. Now you're really, really talking. And now, I have friends that this is all they do now for a living. They day trade. How I made my money in the morning, Norwegian Cruise Line, gave me 15%. And that's 15% off of 30,000. And they're happy. That's a good day for them. They don't need to do much work. So that's like an example. I'm working up there. I'll get there eventually. I need a green market. I need a better market, but that is the goal to eventually get there. So yeah.
Yeah. So I just have one more question before we kind of close out here a little bit. We've been going on for quite a bit. It's super interesting. I hope you guys all enjoy it. If you guys have any questions, please put in the comments so that we know. We can try to answer them if we can. So now we all know that things are ticking up because they had a big drop.
Right.
Right? That's where the opportunity is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So without that, then you got to spend more time long term to try to grow your wealth because things are bouncing back, relatively quickly as far as pandemic is concerned, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no opportunities. Dow went down to, I believe it was 18,000 or 17,000 in March, late March, right? And so we're already back up 26,000. I don't watch it that close. Am I about right?
Right. Yeah, you're right.
So that's that's a huge percentage, and that's what, like 35% or 40%,
right?
Like that. So had you got in and you split out your investments when it was 18,000, when everybody sold,
right?
Bought, then that'd be a huge, right, different story, right? Things would just compound on itself and would just continue.
Oh yeah. I mean, you look at companies like Boeing, and they've a lot of these companies have recovered to where they were before the whole COVID situation. And in that short a time, it's crazy to make 300, 200, 300, 400% return on your money. So take whatever money you invest and times it by 3 or 4. That's what a lot of people have seen, in the span of 2-3 months. So that's what this opportunity has given a lot of people. So
cool,
including myself.
Yeah, awesome. Is there anything else people out there listening should know?
Yeah, I think one thing they should know is trading and investing are two very different things. So I know we kind of throw around that term a little bit, but just keep in mind that this is by no means like my retirement solution. This is something that I do to supplement my income, and the money is definitely helps, and I use it responsibly. But I would just also keep that in mind. I think I've read some things, I've heard some things that people sort of trade to give themselves, a retirement solution, and I just can't really recommend against that enough. So definitely have something in addition to trading for your retirement.
Yeah, it's because it's really volatile, right? And so things like, nobody saw the pandemic coming. Nobody saw that, the economy would be shut down, just a little over 3 months ago, like we were all living normal, right? And the stocks were gonna pretty much on track to hit like 30,000 again, right? And so literally, in stock terms, within 5 days, it dropped to 18,000, nearly 42% or whatever like that. So that's just something that you got to be able to take, because if that happened to you and you had a whole bunch of money in it, are you going to be able to pay your bills? Are you going to be able to pay your mortgage? Are you going to be homeless? Are you going to be able, right? So that I think that's your point, right? Of what you're talking about. Like, hey, this is like play money here. You know, this is not something that you should be, you know, doing unless you're really, really good at what you do and you really can protect yourself through the trading, you know.
Yeah.
And if everybody had a crystal ball, well, then everybody'd be rich, right?
Right.
But congratulations on for you on taking the opportunity. The thing that I like, we started talking, we mentioned, like I mentioned earlier, when we started to talk. Hey, you know what? There's opportunities out there right now. Instead of sitting around sulking and not doing anything, sitting on
Yeah.
the couch, watching TV, watching the news. Don't do that, right? Watching
Right.
the news and like what's
Everything.
happening with the, you know, the riots and the pandemic and all stuff. Certainly keep up with what's going on, but you don't need to, you know, like get stuck in there. You gotta, you know, do something. You gotta, you know, take some action. And it doesn't have to be this. It doesn't have to be day trading. Be something else. And a lot of people did a lot of good, and good on them. They picked up an art that they always wanted to do. They spend time wisely and investing in quality of life, which is awesome. You know, they spend more time with their family, which is awesome. There's anything that, you know, those are things that you can't put a dollar sign on it, right? You decided to spend more time to better your health. Maybe try eating better and try not to be, you know, you couldn't go out anyway, so you eat at home, you know, and so you get to decide what goes into your food, right? And then for you, it's just you just happen to pick, you know, day trading because it's something that you could do easily, something that you always been interested in for 4 or 5 years,
Yep.
and you know, and saw an opportunity. And there's a lot of people out there right now who probably saw opportunities and started their own new business by now, right?
Yep.
3 months, you know, new business, they're up and running, and it's something that is not affected by the pandemic. It's not a retail store or something like that. It's not a service oriented where you have to meet face to face. A lot of, I know probably a lot of people are starting new business, online business, you know, during this time. So great for you. And you know, Tyler here just happened to pick, you know, stocks because he saw that, hey, things are going down. I can pick up and I can grow this, and this is something that probably maybe it's a once in a lifetime thing. Who knows, right? Like, you know, I know that when during the '08 crash, you know, the down went down to, you know, just under 8,000, right?
Right.
So if you had money, then you would have made a lot of money, you know, by now if you stuck with it and just kept in it. And like you said, the U.S. economy is the safest in the world.
Mm-hmm.
In the world, like if you think it's so risky here, try another country.
Mm-hmm.
Try Italy, try Croatia, try Japan, right?
Uh,
People are losing money left and right because it's not stable. That's why so many people around the world want to invest in the US. That's why the
yep.
dollar is always so strong. So hopefully you guys can take that to heart and understand how that stuff works. And, you know, I think it's not a bad idea to pick, you know, try a little day trading and see if you like it, see something you have a knack for, like you, right? So,
Right.
so
Yeah.
awesome.
And feel free to reach out if anyone has any questions. Again, like I know in the beginning I said this, I kind of skipped over it, but if anyone's like, I don't know, I'm not quite there. It sounds cool. I really want to get, I want to make my first trade, but I'm not sure yet. There's so much out there. There's some really good books. A random walk down Wall Street is a really good book. It really helps you to understand the big picture of the economy and a little bit on day trading. But there's some great videos out there. I could find them. I don't know off the top of my head, but feel free to reach out to me if you want to know what they are, and I can send them your way. So
Awesome. And
yeah.
so I think we've got you on Facebook here, so they definitely sent you a message through there. You know, there's more than one way to invest, right? If stock is not your thing and you want to do real estate, Tyler and I always talk about real estate.
Yeah.
We love real estate. You know, there's so much
Nice.
money to be had there as well. Right now, people are realizing how important their home is now that they don't have to go to work. They're spending more of their time at home more than ever. And they're looking around their house and like, hey, you know, my house is pretty important actually. And now I have to work from home. Now I need extra space. You know, look at how my family is protected because, you know, I live here, you know, at a home that I own, right? Or I have more than one home and I rent it to somebody else and I get a passive income on. And then like Tyler here, he does Airbnb. And so he has people that are renting, and so he's getting passive income from that as well. And so I think it's super important, any of these things, to definitely reach out to us and ask questions. You don't have to do anything. You're not obligated to anything. Just learn more and then see if it's the right thing for you. So hopefully you guys can, kind of think about that and see if that's something you want to do. If you guys have any questions regarding real estate, of course, I don't talk about it enough with you guys online, but this time I'll do. Interest rates are at all-time low right now. Most people will tell you in the industry that it's free money, and it literally is pretty much free money. So if you haven't refinanced your house in the last couple of years, you're probably at 4% or maybe more. 2 years ago, it was around 5 and 5.25. And so you can refinance your house. If you had a $2,000 mortgage right now, you refinance your house. Right now, you could take $200-300 off your monthly mortgage. So that's why we call it
day trade with it.
Yeah. So you could take that and day trade with it, and then grow that into more money, right?
Exactly.
So you can save money. That's why we call it free money. And then you can take that and do whatever you need with it. If you want to invest more in stocks, then you can definitely do that. But anyways, you can talk to either one of us about any of those things. We'll be happy to help. All right. So as per tradition, we always ask our guests what they love about where they live. And since you come from out of town, you're still a newbie to me because I lived in California all my life. But what do you love about where you live?
I love the sort of what attracted me out here, and I still feel like it's out here, is just the opportunity. There's a little bit of a buzz in the air. I just, people want to be here. They want to live here in Orange County, LA. And you just always see that. You always hear about it. There's always new things happening. There's always an energy here that makes it exciting and just kind of gives you life. So that's really one of my favorite things about being out here. And you can't beat the scenery, you can't beat the weather. So
cool. I'm just taking care of the IGTV here because it looks like we lost you halfway through. So
I think my Instagram went out.
Yeah. So all right, super awesome. We're glad you're here in California. You can see how great it is and why it's so expensive, right? And then so also you have a quote to share with everybody out there?
Yeah, I think this one's really important. It might take you a minute to let it sink in and really understand it, but Jim Rohn, he was one of my favorite, he's passed now, but he was one of my favorite speakers, great guy. But he had an awesome quote. It says, personal income rarely exceeds personal development. So you might get lucky here or there, but for the most part, you always have to be learning and growing and improving yourself and just trying to be a better you. And personal income will follow. It doesn't work the other way around. So I think it's great. It's just that quote alone has done me wonders, and it's really made me just want to keep reading, learning, and growing, and making good friends like with you, Leo. So yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, likewise. Yeah, I always tell people like, hey, take everything you got and just invest in yourself, because that's where the money's going to come from. It's going to come from you, what you know, what you can see, what you can do. So invest in yourself, and invest in your health, and invest in your mind, and invest in everything that you can do, because you have a lot to offer. So you certainly are doing that, Tyler. So I appreciate it very much.
Cool.
Yeah. That's all for us today. Thank you all for watching.
Awesome.
We've got I think hopefully Tyler can go back onto the live feed here and just comment a few of the links that maybe he can share with you guys. Otherwise, have a good night, everybody. Again, please join the Wisdom Club. That's where we're going to start doing more of our streams and give you guys as much information, value, and bring cool people like Tyler on. So thank you very much. Have a great night, everybody.
Thanks, Leo.
Thanks
for having me, buddy. Alrighty. I'll see you.
Bye, everybody.